We're back. We're back, literally freaking back. So, plan for today. I guess I know the basic plan. I'm going to either do lats or mid-back first. And I read a comment, because the first time I just did one of these back days where I said, okay, I'm going to completely wreck my lats and then do my upper mid-back individually as though they were two different muscle groups. So essentially going into every row set only thinking upper mid-back, and then obviously every pull-down set only thinking lats. But I did upper back first, lats after, and I got a comment that made a little bit of sense. The guy said, I would rather do all of my lats first so that they're already fatigued. So by the time that you start doing mid-back later on in the workout, then your lats are going to be able to help even less so in whatever row or chest supported machine that you're using, and then it'll kind of help bias that upper back, which that logic makes a lot of sense to me. But I can also look at it the other way and say, well, if I do upper back first, then I'm residually a little bit pre-exhausting my lats, so that when I hit my lats, they're already kind of warm and I can just jump straight into it instead of having to almost like warm up a completely new muscle group. So I think the answer is not so black and white as one or the other. It's probably somewhere closer along the lines of I'll just go back and forth between the two. So last back day was rows first, pull down second. So maybe today I'll go pull downs first, rows second. Or maybe do a combo, 3 sets of a lat movement, 3 sets of a row movement, 3 sets of a lat movement, 3 sets of a row movement, and any kind of combination. That's just like what I do for arms. For arms, I'm going to treat them as obviously 2 separate muscles, tris and bis. But if I want to change it up, maybe instead of doing all of triceps and then all of biceps, I might do a complete back and forth push down, curl, push down, curl, push down, curl. And then by the time the workout's over, now my arms are completely pumped. So I'll get in there and warm up first, but that actually is starting to sound like a pretty good freaking idea. I was saying yesterday that I wanted to go to a different gym, but I think I just want to get straight into it. So back to the dungeon we go, and then I'm going to up my cardio a little bit. Instead of 30 minutes a day, I'm going to up it to 35, which doesn't necessarily sound like the craziest increase. It's just a little bit, just 5 minutes. I did the math yesterday. I put it up on my story when I posted my little 30 minutes of cardio check-in. 24 hours a day, 60 minutes an hour. How many minutes is that? Right? Do the math quick. What is it? You're too slow. Couldn't get your calculator open in time. I can't do that math that quick, at least. But 1,440 minutes. Right? You got 1,440. If I had 1,440 jelly beans, I'd give 30 away in a freaking heartbeat if somebody asked me for them. It's nothing. And as a percentage, 2.08%. So the 30 minutes of cardio a day that I'm trying to hype up is only barely over 2% of your day. And then someone might say, well, that actually doesn't count because you got to spend 8 hours sleeping. So, okay, let's do that math. And if you got to spend 8 hours sleeping, that makes it what? Like, you got to own a little less than 1,000 minutes a day? Still, 30 minutes. I mean, what? It just jumped from a whopping, or such a small 2% to a whopping 3%. It can be done. If you've, actually, not even if, this would be a pretty easy bet to accept whether or not people or everybody here is spending more than 30 minutes on their phone per day. Yeah, if I was at 30 minutes only, I'm sure I'd have less freaking brain rot in my head. But if you're going to sit in your phone anyway, it's so easy to combine the two. I mean, that's all I do. There are some times where I'll be sitting on the cardio bike and I'll get myself a little bit amped, like I'm listening to a song or a really hype edit or something. And then I might do like 3 minutes, a few notches higher on the difficulty level, and then just really get after it, just because, I'm getting excited. But for the most part, all the cardio I'm doing is very, not lax, but, relative to a set of squats, pretty freaking chill. Like I get my headphones in. My rule almost is, or at least when I can tell I'm doing it at my intended difficulty, I get my heart rate up in the 130s. I start sweating about 15 minutes in, So I'm not even breaking a sweat until 15 minutes, and then even then it's not crazy unless I, like bundled up with a bunch of like 2 layers of sweats and then a sweatshirt kind of deal. If I really wanted to sweat, it's not that bad, right? So just keep that in mind. Let's say you finish a workout, you're gonna walk past the cardio machines anyway when you leave, and you're probably gonna sit in your phone for at least 10 minutes when you get in the car, just before you even get out of there. So if you're in a real rush, well, then I guess that's a valid excuse. But otherwise, I don't know, man. I don't see it. Not to turn this into a whole cardio rant, but I can't stress the benefits enough. And it's kind of like once you know. Same thing with calories. Same thing with progressive overload. Same thing with freaking anything. As soon as you get that feedback result, all right, it clicks. You finally understand. But yeah, that's enough about that. So, otherwise, slept well. Didn't eat too much food. Had a little bit of a fiasco. Yesterday, though, because I go to pick up some sushi, do a little bit of a sushi order, and for whatever reason, I don't even know. I don't know. It was probably in 2 containers, and I only picked up one, the top one, because I got a crap ton of sashimi, and I just freaking forgot all of it. So I don't know. I guess I probably felt that the bag was pretty light, but I didn't even notice. So I was out. But instead of a bunch of tuna and salmon for dinner, I just went back to my turkey bowl. So that is a Costco vacuum sealed turkey breast, and the thing is like 6 pounds. Unseal it, cube it up, throw the whole thing in a salad bowl, and then I can take out 8 ounces like that. It's so freaking quick. In terms of meal prep, in just the protein sense of having protein in your fridge, ready to eat at a moment's notice, all you've got to do is plate it. That's probably the quickest one, because the prep is like nothing. When you do ground beef, all right, you're making a mess. You got to strain all the fat off. Maybe you're dieting, so you really want to strain the fat off. So you line the bowl with paper towels, then pour in your ground beef after you've strained it. More paper towels on top, and kind of like do a pat dry sort of situation like you do with a pizza. I mean, it's definitely a lot. Now, I think ground beef is probably up there as an S tier protein source, so it's not like I'm done with ground beef. But to change it up, if your parents go to Costco, or if you go to Costco, kind of hitting all demographics there, you've got to go look for that vacuum sealed turkey breast. I've actually seen a couple replies about them. One guy was saying that he didn't mind it too bad, but it was a little slimy, which isn't. I do not think so. I guess I don't know which one you're getting. I did have one frozen, and then I thawed it out, and it was a little bit different just from going through that freezing process after it's already been cooked. But even then, it was pretty good. So I don't see a problem. And holy shit, Corvette Entourage, 5 in a row. That must be a Saturday. What do they call it? Cars and coffee. Yeah, that was kind of cool. Those were newer too. Those were like I don't know those had it. I don't know which one. Newer, like C8. I don't think ZR1 though. I'm not as much of a car guy as a lot of others. But yeah, nothing else to say. That was kind of cool though. Let's get started. I'm all for a good light squeezing set. I mean, shit, that's all I've been doing for fucking months. Freaking months, rather. So let's get back to some heft. And I'm still going to do some light squeezing sets today. But I've warmed up well. It's been a while since I've thrown this stack around. Let me pick a different song, though. Oh, okay. I gotta drop the weight for the next one. Let's go back and forth, superset style. I'm gonna rest, but I'm saying pull down, row, until we're all done. So let's jump on this one after I catch my breath. Okay. I think 3 of these as a back and forth will be perfect. And then we'll pick a new pair. Two. Okay. Yeah, back to the row. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Back to the pull down. Yeah, that was good. I haven't had that much tension through my lower traps for a freaking while. Two. Okay. Okay. One more heavy row, and then I'll change it up. The next row will be a bit lighter. But the next pull down, let's figure it out. 2 plates on this pull down machine should be perfect. Might even be too heavy, honestly. Come on. Come on. Ooh. Two. Two. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's do a seated regular cable row. All right. This will be a little quicker. So instead of that first set over there, light enough that I could really get a deep squeeze, with just 200 pounds, I'm just gonna try to do as many reps as possible. I'm not gonna throw it around in a really nasty way, but these reps will be a little faster paced. And that's a good thing, at least as long as not every set is like that. You know, I think the biggest critique of anybody's training would be if their training is stale, you know? But, I mean, shit, I've had workouts where all I did was dumbbell curls. I got a pretty good bicep pump. You know, there's still cut and dry rules here. But let's go nuts. Hooah! Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's do some single arm pullovers instead of that machine. It's a little too heavy for right now. Yeah, this will be perfect. So, if you've ever done these kind of pullovers with a rope like such, so you're going here, I mean, good stretch, but really I can't squeeze my lats that hard. And I think I've got a decent ability to like flex my lats manually. So maybe it's just me, but I definitely prefer one arm at a time with a cable like this. So instead of freestanding, you know, kind of balancing back and forth, I can reach forward, hold this upright, lean into it, get a really solid base. So I get a big lat stretch on the top and then dig down to the bottom. Like at the bottom of the rep, I almost feel like I'm not even pulling around. I'm like pulling my arm. Let me see if I can actually show it. Like down. Hey, you can't really see it, but there's a little point where it's the bottom of my lat, way down here by my waist, and I want to feel that section flex and freaking burn. So let's just make it happen. And this will be 5 reps each side, repeating. All right. Okay. There. Yeah. Okay. Oof. Oof. Okay. Okay. All right. I've got a good plan for the ender, and then we can see how we're looking. All right. So this is kind of a half pull down, half row conglomerate. So set up as such, long D handles, and I'm trying to get a really big lat stretch, like I'm totally opening up my lats at the top, at least as much as I can. But instead of just doing a pull down, I'm leaning back into a rowing mid-back squeeze, which is a big change up. So if this is good, I think this is gonna be it. Ooh. All right, come on. There we go. Come on. Ooh. Okay. Oh my gosh. All right. That's all. I was about to say I'm feeling pumped. Obviously. But all right, there we go. Yeah, tell me if this looks any different. I'm using a different camera than normal. But guess what? It does not change the quality of the pump that is being documented. That is for freaking sure. So, let me get a good little glimpse of let's see, a through the shirt lat spread. So just standing, shirt draped, you know, maybe a little bit of lats. But this is where things get interesting. You start to tighten it up. There we go. Yeah, still just standing decently relaxed. Like this really is, I'm not even really flexing. And that's a little bit of like mid-back grain. And then of course, you know, if I tense up, start to see a little bit of erectors. Yeah, that's freaking sweet. But let's not talk about it and actually get a real freaking glimpse. So this is kind of going to be a key note that I keep referencing about my upper back section of movements, because obviously I'm kind of splitting my back into two. So when I'm doing those cable rows, I'm not holding that handle and pulling down, right? Like you can even see it. My lats are freaking firing. Yeah, like I'm not pulling down here at the top of those rows. I'm trying to pull up. Like I'm aiming for something like this. And I feel a lot of like mid back when I do that. Like see that little gap in basically the upper, like the right at the top of the Christmas tree. You know, here's one side, here's the other. That little gap, I can't reach back and point at it, but that's like where I'm concentrating my force, trying to pull my arms around my body and have my elbows touch almost. And in the process of doing that, obviously I'm working my traps, right? Like way up here. But I also get a lot of this activation. I'm talking straight up on my back, eyes level, you know. So those are these little divots right underneath my rear delts. So by doing these rows kind of up here, it definitely does get some rear delt activation, but it hits those, I think they say teres major. I've always called them rhomboids, but I guess I was saying the wrong name. And that looks freaking sweet. Even just standing sideways, you can see them kind of jutting out. They almost might get confused for somebody's shoulder blades. But let's hit a full-on lat spread. Oh. Oh my gosh. Even just leaning back and holding that back pose is freaking winding me. Back is now a big workout. I think I've been slacking on my back training. Not these last few months, because all I've been aiming for is just maintenance as I was dieting. But over the last off season, I think I'd have made some better back gains had I done more volume, but evenly across my back. So instead of thinking 6 sets is enough for the whole thing, now it's more like that's enough for lats and that's enough for upper traps and mid back, but not the both in tandem. So together, my back days would be probably more like 12-ish sets, something like that. Because like I was saying in the car, there's still some overlap. You know, I'm still getting some lat work on these rows, and on some of these pull downs, I'm still getting a little bit of mid back at the bottom. So I think, given that they're kind of going to play off each other a little bit, 5 or 6 sets of lats, 5 or 6 sets of upper back focus rows, I think that's a perfect combo. But, you know, more like that's just an ideal amount of volume I feel for me to fully stimulate my back and not overdo it. But that's pretty much all I got there. Let's get these freaking lights off and get in the car. Yeah, there we go. That hit me. That was a big one. That was a big one. I don't know. I'm not sure. You know, so this was damn near a fasted workout, right? I mean, I had some oatmeal this morning just so I could have some carbs in my system. But lately, I've been liking coming to the gym in the morning early. Well, early relative to the day. Workout first, cardio second. So, I don't know. Here's why I'm torn, right? Because when I was dieting, my logic is, okay, well, all I'm doing is maintaining. I might not even really feel that much more energized later in the day. I'm kind of fresh right when I wake up. I'll eat a little something, go straight to the workout. Boom. Plus, when you're posing, you got to empty your stomach. You can hit cooler vacuums. That's what I was thinking. But off season, and now that I'm getting into pushing heavier weights, I think I've got to fuel up more so on the day and go back to my at least slightly later workouts. The problem is then, now I'm already in this like workout in the morning mode. So I'll see. But yeah, I definitely, as these workouts get heftier and heftier, just floating on like 80 grams of carbs of, a breakfast isn't really going to cut it, I don't think, you know. So now, if you've got to work out in the morning, that's the only time you've got in your day, that's a little bit of a different story, right? Then just freaking get after it. But if you can kind of adjust so that you've got some more fuel in your system, I think that's a slightly better approach. So that's probably what I'm going to do later on. Like for tomorrow's arm day, I think I'll save it at least for after 2 big solid meals. You know, I'm talking 100 grams of carbs each, a little bit of fats, tons of fluids. And by tons, you know, I just mean like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 liters beforehand throughout the day. Not just like instantly trying to chug it before I come to the gym, because you're not really giving it enough time to even do anything. I've kind of started taking my pre-workout even earlier than like just 20 minutes pre-workout. I've been slamming it at home And then getting to the gym, maybe probably 30, 40 minutes afterward, just because I'll drink it, get my bag ready, set on my phone for a second, pet the cats or whatever, then drive over, sit down, start warming up, so that it's kind of, hitting me full force right as I'm starting the lift after I've kind of warmed up. The only different approach I have there is when it comes to quads and hams, when I'm doing them both together in one heavy session. That's where I'm going to say I'm just going to bring the pre-workout with me, drink it on the way in, because hamstrings I can hit really hard and I don't feel uncaffeinated while the pre-workout's still kind of working its way through my system. But after how long does hamstrings take? 30 minutes, 35 minutes or something, even with some RDLs and some hip hinging movements. Then once quads starts, that's when I'm like, okay, let's get really real and start pushing it. So by then, the caffeine's really kind of hitting my system. I can feel it, and then I can at least sort of feel like I'm going extra hard, so something like that. But I don't have to worry about that tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the same approach. Early cardio, early lift, or early pre-workout, early lift, and then some cardio afterward. I've been liking doing cardio in the basement after I eat something. So I'll go home, eat my regular post-workout meal, and it's, it'll be pretty big. I'm about to probably have 150 grams of carbs, maybe just 100, 15 of fats, 50 of protein. And since the cardio isn't crazy high intensity, like I'm not doing sprints. If I was trying to do, high intensity crazy sprints, at least whatever my ability to sprint would be, if I ate food beforehand and I really brought it, I got my heart rate like crazy high, I'd probably freaking throw up. But with the regular low intensity steady state cardio, just getting a baseline elevation of my heart rate, I don't mind having some food in my system. I wouldn't want to eat a meal as I'm walking into the gym, but for cardio, not really so much of a problem, and if anything, it'll probably kind of help your digestion after eating something before cardio, just like doing a little bit of a post-meal walk, right? So a lot of angles to look at, but as long as whatever your routine is, cardio, workouts, meals, as long as it fits into your schedule and you can be consistent about it, well, then that's basically all that freaking matters, because who wins in the long run? Who wins? The guy who has like a perfect, awesome, like, okay, 3 o'clock, that's my objectively strongest, freshest moment in the day to come hit a workout. But then every so often he has to skip like 2 or 3 days a week, versus the guy who says, okay, I can make it work if I hit the gym every morning at 7, shower, change, and then get my regular day started. Now, sure, maybe it's not necessarily ideal in a very like objective sense, but he's going to have a consistent routine. That guy's going to win, right? So it's not the more that I've been working out and, really getting into dieting and cardio and everything, which I've been into for a while at this point. Like, this isn't new for me. But the more I've been doing it, the more I'm kind of starting to appreciate the idea that the most important part in the long run isn't, any one specific aspect. It's more so just making sure everything gets done, So my meals, am I counting everything? Yeah? All right, freaking sweet. My cardio, did it get done today? Did it get done right in the morning when I woke up? Did it get done, later in the day before I go to bed? Did it get done right in the middle? Did it get done right after the workout? Doesn't matter. Did it get done? And if the answer is yes, well then freaking sweet. And then the workout, of course, same logic with the cardio. Did it get done? So if I know I'm going to be extra busy one day and I've got to do like I don't know. I mean, maybe I got a crazy day of travel, and the only time I can work out on this day is at like 4 a.m. Wake up early, do a 4 a.m. lift, and then go to the airport for something. Well, shit, if that's what I got to do, then hell, that'll be a W for me if I actually get up that early and make it happen. So it's kind of trying to reach a state of imperviousness to external circumstance where you don't get totally thrown off. Like, I think a very spoiled approach would be, shit, I can't work out at 4. I'm not even going. Like, if things aren't totally perfect, then it's not even worth it. Terrible. Right? I like the idea of, all right, shit, I got this chest day planned. Let's get in here. I want to do incline bench. I'm envisioning myself doing it. Like, I've got the workout planned, completely ready. Like, and then I come in and it's packed. like packed to the point where if I want that incline bench, like shit, there's somebody on it and there's 2 people waiting for it already, so it's off the table, you know. And sometimes we get this mentality where we know what we're going to do, we visualize it, we've imagined it, it's like that's what I. So if you come in and something sort of goes against your plan or what you imagined was going to happen, you know, it kind of takes your feet out from under you. Not a lot, but, you know, a little bit of that feeling. So rather than be, you know, flabbergasted, oh, people are on the Smith machine, do the hammer strength press, do a pec deck, do a converging fly, you know, just change it up, instantly pivot. And I think the people who can pivot like that, be it with their routine, with the actual workouts, depending on what the equipment availability is, meals, oh shit, you know, this is where I think a lot of, this isn't a great critique, because obviously if you can eat straight chicken, rice, you know, what we'd call a conventional perfect bodybuilding diet every freaking meal, well then, hell yeah. But I think a lot of guys just say that they do that, or like if they do a full day of eating, they make it extra clean, and then really they're eating a bunch of, you know, freaking regular food. Maybe that's just in my head, I don't know. But it's like, all right, shit, you know, I'm gonna be traveling. What am I gonna do? Eat nothing? All right. I mean, I've had some pretty substantial airport meals where I'm like, okay, shit, we're going jerky, yogurt, and whatever else I can get my hands on. You know, kind of the at least slightly more normal options of food. But you know, at that point, I guess the theme of what I'm saying is you got to make do, right? Make do and make that shit happen. That's for sure. I was hoping it was going to be sunny today, so I could get a little bit of UV. I'm pretty pale. I'm relatively pale compared to what I have been. I can get tan, but it just takes a while. So I'm hoping that as we get closer to summer, I'll really be able to catch some rays. And the only problem is it gets freaking hot, you know. And then if I'm laying out and I want to cool myself down with the hose water, well then the hose water is freezing. So it's like, how do I get a perfect in between of the two? Maybe I should just get a big ass fan. Put a big ass fan in the backyard and just have that blow on me as I'm laying out, so that it kind of, you know, keeps me from feeling like I'm in a freaking sauna. But either way, that'll be probably for later. You know, I mean, just 2 days ago it hailed, like it was hailing gravel-sized bits, to the point where the highway traffic completely stopped, just because it was too much. And it's freaking April. It's almost May. So that kind of came out of left field. But honestly, for Ohio, that's not the most unexpected thing in the world. Like if I woke up tomorrow and there's an inch of snow, I don't think people around here would freak. They'd kind of be like, that's just how it is now. But I'm gonna get a meal in my system, edit this little guy together, and then I think, we're gonna ups the video game the next few days. Not video games, but get a little full day of eating finished, grocery trip because I got to restock on some stuff, and then a Q&A for sure. So if you want to, the way that I do it, because there's a million questions. Like if I posted a little YouTube community post that said like I'm doing a Q&A, by the next day there's like 1,000 questions, you know. And as much as it would be cool to sit and answer 1,000, I think that would take. I mean, shit, even if I did 30 seconds, how long would that be? 1,500 minutes. Yeah, it'd be like 10 hours long. So how I normally do it is I post it, and then whoever answers first, I usually scan through. So it's like right after I post it, I'm looking through the comments, reloading and screenshotting some good ones. That's kind of my approach. So that's kind of a early lifter gets the worm if you've got your notifications on in that sense. You know, I don't think you need your phone ringing every time there's a daily lift, but for those, since they're only every so often, like if you actually want to get a question answered, that would be the trick. You know, so it's like faster the better. If you've got something funny, and it doesn't have to be only workout related. So maybe I'll make a post like that tonight. I'll just do that later. That's probably a good idea. But either way, I'm gonna get home, so I will see you tomorrow.